very cold out here. Man, what, like 27 degrees, but it's dry, so we can do some gardening.
Hi, I'm Ty, and I'm on a mission to grow as much as I can here at PDX Garden Home, a half-acre urban garden in Portland, Oregon, Zone 8B. I pursue this goal to donate harvest to food pantries and just for the love of gardening. I'm lucky to have found something that gives me joy and provides a bit of service to the community. Come along, let me show you what I've been up to this week. Well, I finally got the tulips, daffodils, and crocus bulbs in the ground. As you can see here, I both drilled individual holes in some beds, and here in this bed I used the trench method for planting the last of the tulips. A few weeks ago I got the last of the garlic planted as well. It was frigid out here, but it was dry and the ground was still workable. I've looked over my garlic harvest from earlier this year and I actually have some big cloves left. These will probably only be good for another 4 months or so. In that time, I certainly won't use everything that we have in storage. So I'm going to pick out the cloves of hardnecks and softnecks from this harvest and go ahead and plant them. I also have a bunch of these really small bulbs. I'm not sure what you call them, bulblets? But anyway, they came up all clustered together. They were garlic I missed harvesting 2 years ago. They got left in the ground, and then this last season they sprouted in clusters, and when I pulled them up, they were just these little bulbs that I couldn't really separate the cloves from. So now I'm planning to just go ahead and put these whole guys in the ground as is, and we'll see what happens. To prepare the beds for planting garlic, we cleaned up the central vegetable beds. We removed all the dead tomato plants, pulled some weeds, and just generally cleaned them up so we could see what was there. With the beds cleaned, I drilled some holes and popped garlic cloves in the ground. You may think it's late to do this after Thanksgiving, but the ground is still workable. I think we'll end up getting garlic by July, but you can hold me to that as you watch these videos. I've planted well over 100 garlic cloves in these central beds. That should be enough, don't you think?
The greenhouse glass, some of the glass is frosted. I haven't seen this before.
I think it's important to actually get out and do garden work in the winter. A lot of garden talkers will describe the joy of sitting with a hot cup of cocoa by the fire and planting the garden. But here's the thing. I found that when I haven't done much gardening, even for just a week, it's easy to create plans that go beyond the scope of what's possible in garden planting. My imagination just runs wild, more than what my body and materials can actually do. I think getting out and actually doing some things in the winter gives you perspective, keeps you practical, and it makes planting with the hot cocoa by the fire much more achievable. I've been spending a lot of time doing the same things over and over lately. It's not very exciting, but it's the truth about what winter gardening is like for me. For example, here I'm sorting branches from the decaying leaves. Not quite leaf mold yet, but it's decomposing nicely, and it'll do just fine in this bed. Another example is my continuing work to break down pallets into these piles of lumber for projects. Well, I have to report that I had a winter garden failure. I should have known better. I lost about half of my winter squash, already harvested and in storage. That included all my banana squash. This was the first year that I even grew those. And I also lost my prize sweetmeat squash. The problem? I stored them in the potting shed, but this shed has no heat, and we had some very cold nights that froze the crop stored here. Well, next year, I guess I'll store the squash in the garage, or maybe even the basement nursery.
Well, I'm officially calling it. I still have not cracked the fall-winter gardening code in terms of how to get veggies in the ground and have them available in the fall. We're now mid-December, it's frozen out here, and I do have some kale and a few cabbages and things that are here, but those were planted in the spring and they just kind of stayed in the ground. for the most part. They're not things that I intentionally planted in the summer to come to maturity in the fall and be ready now. And yeah, and some of the seedlings I can tell in here, they've got the tops chomped off. So although I haven't seen any rabbits lately, they must be around. Something's chomping the top off things. So that didn't help, but I wouldn't blame just them, because it's not clear to me that even if the rabbits hadn't chomped off the top of some of the seedlings that I got the timing right. I think I still am not getting the timing right. I got things planted by July. I think honestly maybe we're really talking planting by June in order to have a full garden of veggies in the fall here. But maybe we'll give this another try in 2023.
Given that it's the end of December, the end of 2022, I'm not going to move forward with building more beds out of the pallet lumber. As we roll into January, I have to gear up for seed starting season. So I think there will be just enough time for me to fix up and put up some finishing touches on this tall bed, like putting an armrest around the top. I don't know what you officially call that in carpentry. I'll also look at bracing the sides if needed to make the whole thing look straighter and more pro. Then I'll get on to making the rest of my compost bins with the pallet lumber. Hey, if you enjoy what I'm doing here with these videos, please like, subscribe, and tell a gardening friend. It means the world to me. And Happy New Year!